What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us on Watch Chat Play. Yesterday, probably, I'll do this one day at a time. So yesterday you watched the video that, hopefully you watched the video of the Democratic Party's platform and how it was broken down. So all this week, we're going to do a whole bunch of these videos. We did Democratic yesterday, doing Republican right now, and then we'll do the Libertarian and the Green Party.
Yep.
And as we said in the last video, if you didn't see it, we are not trying to sway you one way or the other. All we're trying to do is inform you of what it is so you have enough information to vote the way that makes sense for you to vote. We said in the end of the video that the video is just a first step. We strongly encourage you, go out, do your own research, figure out who's going to be, in the running. So Hillary is going to be for the Democrats, Donald Trump will be for the Republicans, and then Gary Johnson for the Libertarians, and then for the Green Party, Jill Stein. So those are just words to you right now because we haven't said anything about Donald Trump yet. But even when we do your own research and then go from there. Because the worst thing you can do is vote for no reason. So, do you have any questions about what we did last time we took crack stuff?
You took a crack at stuff? Is that what you said?
Sorry, I was trying to burp, but I was trying to be professional about it. Do you have any questions about what we did with the Democratic stuff?
Oh,
sorry.
No. I think you covered a lot of it. I'm sure I'll think of something, but
You are a smart kid.
You're a smart feller.
All right. If we hadn't already introduced ourselves, my name is Devin. This is Cameron. Sometimes when he feels like it, and we've actually wanted to do something like this for a while. Like in the very early weeks of shooting Watch Chat Play, we talked about doing something a little more and like nerding it up and doing some weird stuff with like that. But then we kind of boiled it down. We're like, you know what? It's more important for us to break it down and to make it easier for you to understand than to spend so much time with making the Republicans Incredible Hulk and making the Democrats something else or whatever. So
yeah, that's too much.
It was going to take too much time. So the core of this is to get you information, which is what we're going to do. So
I also said when we first started this that we should play Mad Libs.
And then he went and shared a whole bunch of videos of a team that did Mad Libs and how much fun they have and how much funny it was and how that could have been us. How much funny it was. Shut up. All right. So the Democratic Party, they are the left-wing party. That is what they are. So in contrast, the Republican Party, they are the right-wing. So, and again, this is something that I've never really cared about. I just heard left-wing or right-wing without ever giving it stock to what it meant. But apparently that's what it means. So
there are farther left and farther right wings than the Democratic and Republican, though.
I mean, in a playhouse, there's only left and right wing, and then you're backstage.
Well, it depends on how far you lean. Like, think of these two parties as kind of like in the middle. They cross sometimes, but then you also have things that are way out here that are opposites.
Is that the libertarian green stuff? Oh, okay, cool.
That's exactly correct.
See, and we're all learning things, and isn't that good? Okay, so the Republican Party is commonly referred to as the GOP, which is an abbreviation for the Grand Old Party.
Really?
Grand Old Party? That's
like Grand Old Opry?
Yeah. That's a thing. So,
I didn't know what the GOP stood for, honestly.
And we're all learning. So, the current ideology is American conservatism, which is in contrast to the Democrats' modern liberalism that we just talked about in the last video. So that platform involves support for free market capitalism, free enterprise, business, a strong national defense, deregulation, restrictions on labor unions, social conservative policies, which particularly opposition to abortion and same-sex marriage, which right out of the gate, totally opposite of what we just talked about with the Democratic Party. Traditional values, which kind of goes back to the same-sex marriage thing, usually with Judeo-Christian ethical foundation. Once dominant in the Northeast and Midwest, the party's core support now comes from the South and Mountain West, as well as conservative Catholics and evangelicals across the country. So Mike Huckabee, I think, was a pastor.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Republican Party seem to lean toward, prayer and faith and, biblical teachings and stuff like that, which is fine. That is their platform. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So there have been 18 Republican presidents, the first being Abraham Lincoln, which is one of my favorite presidents, which, we all got to pick one.
Yeah.
I like him.
Great.
He served from 1861 to 1865, and then he was assassinated. That sad story. And then he rose to fight zombies and vampires.
Yeah.
Couple good movies about it. He's a good guy.
Heck yeah.
The most recent one was George W. Bush, the young one. He served from 2001 to 2009. So the entire time I was in the Marines, he was my president. So that was a big deal. The last Republican presidential nominee was former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, who I liked a lot. I wish he was running this election. He lost in 2012 to Barack Obama. And businessman and reality television personality Donald Trump is a Republican nominee for the 2016 election.
Which is mind-blowing, but hey.
But
that just shows that anyone can do it.
Anyone, and doesn't that make you feel good? Because you live in a country where as long as you're...
able to fund yourself.
There you go. You could be president too.
Yeah.
You could be president too. All right, so let's get into this. The Democratic one was kind of set up easier to read and digest, so we'll go and see if I can't make that make a little bit more sense in this one.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Is what I like about you. No. All right, positions. So they believe strongly in free markets and individual achievement are the primary factors behind economic prosperity, which 100% describes Donald Trump in a nutshell. So he believes in making himself, powerful and stuff like that. So modern Republicans advocate the theory of supply-side economics, which holds that the lower tax rate increases economic growth. So lower taxes on stuff, which means we will spend more money, which will help the economy. So that is their stance on taxes.
I can see that.
Many Republicans oppose higher tax rates for higher earners, which they believe are unfairly targeted at those who create jobs and wealth. Which is, whether or not you agree about it, that's a school of thought. That if you tax the people that make jobs, you're going to make less jobs, which screws the rest of us poor folk around. Blah, blah, blah. They believe in private spending is more efficient than government spending. Pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
They believe individuals should take responsibility for their own actions. So the Democratic Party was all about public welfare and the welfare state and making sure that, everybody's taken care of. What this is kind of suggesting is that the Republicans believe that you need to take responsibility for your own actions. They believe the private sector is more effective in helping the poor than the government is, and that social assistance programs often cause government dependency, which we've all seen. You can say whatever you want about it. There is a lot of government dependency out there.
Yep.
Some agree that there should be, some safety net to assist the less fortunate, especially ones with kids, until it's abused. While limiting it to encourage employment and monitoring it to reduce abuse, which I agree with that completely. You should absolutely monitor people who are just... There's a lady who came in the other day to apply for a job. She was 32, hadn't worked since she was 18.
How?
Welfare. The party promotes free trade agreements, most notably the North American Free Trade Agreement, although some have protectionist views. Yeah, NATO. No, that's not NATO. NAFTA, yeah. NATO is like the big conglomerate of governments.
North American Trade Organization.
Republicans believe corporations should be able to establish their own employment practices, including benefits and wages, which Obamacare was kind of against, because Obamacare was all about, we want everybody to have health care, and then it that hit businesses in a very different way. So some people wouldn't, you can only work X amount of hours, because if you work more than that, we have to pay you benefits, and we don't want to. So that kind of had a weird effect on that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I was agreeing, yeah.
Most Republicans are opposed to the increase in the minimum wage, believing that such increases hurt many businesses by forcing them to cut and outsource jobs and pass costs along to customers. The party opposes government-run single-layer healthcare system, claiming such a system constitutes socialized medicine. They oppose the Affordable Care Act, which is Obamacare. So, Democratic Party was all about Obamacare, making sure that everybody is forced into healthcare, so they have it, so they're taken care of. The Republican is saying, no, that's crazy. You need to take care of yourself, and then if you choose to have healthcare, that's great. If not, that is your decision.
What I see, I work at a hospital.
Yeah.
So I see before the Affordable Care Act came into effect, you would have people coming in using the hospital, and they had no insurance coverage. So they'd come in, we would see them, we're a hospital, that's what we're doing, and this could save someone's life. They go out, and we don't see a dime of that. They don't care. Like, it screws their credit up, whatever. They don't care. We're not going to see any money from that. But now that everyone has to have health care, of course, there's still people out there that don't. but that's a good way to get fined. But they come in with, baseline health care. At least the hospital sees some money because the insurance is going to give money to the hospital.
Which in turn, so do you think that promotes better ethical treatment of patients, or do you think the previous system was?
Well, if we're pulling money in, we have more room to wiggle with, getting more equipment, getting our state-of-the-art ER that we have now.
Yeah, $8 billion, something ridiculous.
No, it was 17 million, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, we have money coming in. Like, we did all that. We were still under budget by the time we were done with that, which was awesome.
Nice.
But, yeah.
Cool. They believe in the separation of powers and balance of powers. So, strict constructionalism. I hate this part. So we said in the first one that there's a lot of information that's really easy to digest, and there's just a lot of crazy verbs and crap like that, that the general population doesn't use.
Career politicians.
Republicans believe in federalism, with limitations on federal authorities and a larger role for states. As such, they often take a less expansive reading of congressional power under the Commerce Clause.
Okay.
You want to explain that?
No.
Cool.
That was a sarcastic okay.
Let's see. See how this is it's all block format. It's the worst.
Yeah, that's kind of awful.
All right, so immigration. I feel like if you've ever watched one of Donald Trump's speeches, you'll kind of get his beat on how he feels about it. Republicans are divided on how to confront legal immigration between a platform that allows the migrant workers and a path to citizenship, which is what the Democrats were all about, versus a position focused on securing the border and deporting illegal immigrants. Okay, so that makes sense then. So a lot of the speeches that Donald Trump has made were all about, we got to build a wall, we're going to have them, close the borders, ship everybody out, and then let them come in illegally. So that's kind of his whole thing. So what this is saying, what you were talking about earlier with just because you pick a guy who is on this platform, he can lean either way. This is even saying that the Republican Party is kind of divided. Some people are all about, you got to make a way. Marco Rubio was all about that. You got to make a way for immigrants to come in, to be legal and stuff like that. Whereas Donald Trump was dead set against it. Ship them all out and then let them back in, but through a course of action. Because they're all about immigration reform. The Republican Party is all about the government. So George W. Bush and his dad and most of the Republican Party, they are pro-military. Give the military whatever money they need, spend however much you want on it, do whatever you want, it does not matter, make sure that, give our boys what they need. Which, pros and cons to that, the debt that we incur because of going to war is absolutely insane.
It's almost unbelievable.
And the numbers that, it doesn't even feel like real numbers.
It's just
just throw a giant fictitious pile. We'll never have to pay it back. We'll just outsource the debt to whomever. But that's the thing. So when we were attacked in 2011, George Bush and the Republican Party were like, you know what? We're going after it. You attack us, we're going after you. We're going to do whatever we can. 2001.
You said 11.
I'm looking at September 11th, so I read 2011. I blended them. So September 11th, 2001, rather. Sorry. That's when we were attacked. That's when we went to war in 2002. 2003 was the invasion of Iraq. So the George W. Bush administration took the position that the Geneva Conventions do not apply to unlawful combatants. Which, if you don't understand what the Geneva Convention is, that is essentially the rules of engagement in a time of war. So America holds themselves accountable to the rules of engagement be set by the Geneva Convention. So say you have a rocket launcher and there's a person running at you, you cannot just blow them away. If you have a 50 caliber rifle, which is really big bullets that fire really, really fast, you can't just fire that into a crowd. There are specific rules of engagement. So you have to, we all had a bandana and you had to wave it first to signal that you wanted them to stop. If they didn't stop, you had to kind of yell and then, make sure that they knew you were trying to get them to stop. If that didn't work, then a couple warning shots. And if that didn't work, then you could engage them unless you were fired upon first.
Yeah.
That is what the Geneva Convention is. And that's what it's saying. It doesn't apply to unlawful combatants. Which essentially means that if somebody's just going to go around like guerrilla warfare style, then the rules of engagement do not apply. You just go and you know.
Yeah, like running people over with a truck.
Yes. Unlawful combatant, they do not hold themselves to any kind of rules or regulations. They are just out to damage people. And what that policy was saying, that you could just open fire on that, it doesn't matter. There are no rules, which I agree with. And that was the hard thing about Iraq, because for the most part, it was guerrilla-style warfare, and it was urban combat, and they had their own ideological stance and stuff like that, and it wasn't like there was the Geneva Convention. So for us, I don't want to get too far into this, but if you shoot a guy and he falls down, he's a non-combatant. So even though he just shot at you, if you shot at him, you're supposed to give him aid. Yeah, it sucks. But that's the thing. But the other side of that war did not feel that way. It wasn't like a conventional, we weren't going up against a conventional army. It was guerrilla-style warfare.
When did the Geneva Convention come into effect? Do you know offhand? Like, did Vietnam have that?
I can try to find out.
Because I feel like Vietnam was ridiculous with all that stuff. I feel like that was because that's when they used Agent Orange and napalm.
Yeah, but Agent Orange was something different. That was set to get rid of all the wildlife so they can get in there and do what they had to do.
And that was like taking people out, though, wasn't it?
They were spraying it in areas where people weren't supposed to be, but people were there. That was all bad intelligence, because I'm a nerd. I watch war documentaries. So they had like a grid system. 2nd Battalion is going to be in quadrant whatever.
Okay.
So we're going to spray here to get ahead of them to make sure that we clear out all the crop and stuff like that, so they can get in easier. But either they were ahead of where they were, or they were flying over stuff that they couldn't see. So then they ended up covering military personnel and civilians and stuff like that, not intentionally, but then all the side effects and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So that's what that was.
Okay.
The Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the condition of the wounded, sick, and shipwrecked members of the armed forces at sea was adopted in 1906. It was significantly revised and replaced with the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949.
Okay, so
so
it
it's for a long time. The Geneva Convention relative to the treatment of prisoners of war was adopted in 1929.
So I feel like the Vietnamese probably were along similar lines to what you were fighting.
All very guerrilla-style combat, but instead of being in a jungle-time situation with like the heat and all that,
you're in the desert, which is dry heat.
But it's urban combat, so instead of you having to worry about the jungles and the holes and stuff like that, you're worried about the buildings and the attire and who is who and who says there's something else. So that's rough. That was about. So so heavy hitter stuff: social policies, abortion, civil rights, stuff like that. So this is the big stuff.
Okay.
The Republican Party is generally associated with social conservative policies, although it does have a dissenting centrist and libertarian. In fact, I hate it when they do this crap. Get to the point. Just get to the point. They uphold their traditional values, such as the opposition of same-sex marriage, abortion, and marijuana. So, with what we just talked about, Democratic Party makes sense.
Yep.
So the Democratic Party is pro-choice, pro-weed, pro same-sex marriage.
Yep.
The Republican Party is pro-life, anti same-sex marriage, and then anti-drugs. Most conservative Republicans also oppose gun control, affirmative action. They oppose affirmative action?
What?
And illegal immigration. Interesting.
Where's that at now?
Right here. Most conservative Republicans oppose gun control, affirmative action, and illegal immigration. Did you know that?
I did not.
But again, just because it's on the platform doesn't mean the person that you're voting for has to adhere to that. You should.
You want to explain affirmative action? I'm sure there's people that don't know what that is.
Let me make sure I can get the verbiage right, because I don't want to just say what I think it is. It's also known as the employment equity in Canada. Nobody cares about that. It's the policy of favoring members of a disadvantaged group. Doesn't that sound like a jerk thing to say? It's the policy of favoring members of a disadvantaged group who currently suffer or historically have suffered from discrimination within culture. The most basic example of this is saying, so we're both white.
Yeah.
It's saying that I fire you because you are a white man and hire a black woman to take your job just to make sure that we have balance.
Yep.
And where we work, that's a big thing. They have, we get emails sometimes about our equality percentages, how many women are in positions of authority, how many people run stores, how many people are in your shop, make sure that you're hiring ethnic groups and other people. Mm-hmm. What is your customer base, does it reflect the people that are working in the store? Where we live, it's actually very whitewashed. There's not a whole lot of different ethnicities. There's a big population, but not a lot of them that speak very well English. But for the company overall, they want to make sure that you have a blend of everybody, that your company is reflecting the population. So black, white, Latino, Asian, whomever, man, woman, child, a little bit of both.
So we can't really hire children.
Not yet. Not anymore. We'll try to get back to that. Those good old school qualities.
Oh, yeah.
So that's essentially, so that's a big one. The big one is they are against same-sex marriage, and they are against abortion, and they are against marijuana. Civil rights, we just said about affirmative action. They support gun ownership rights, so they're all about giving people their guns.
Second Amendment.
They have historically supported the war on drugs, and they oppose the legalization of drugs. So they're all about the mandatory sentencing for drug charges. Most Republicans support school choice, so they're all about education as well, which I think if you're going to be in the politic game at all, you have to say that you support education, because why else would a parent vote for you?
Yeah. I'm against teaching our children anything. I feel like if you read the Bible, that's all you teach your children.
Shut up. You heard the man say it. I didn't prompt him. There's no teleprompter here. That's what it is. LGBT rights. I think we already know where they're going to stand on this. They are outwardly hostile to the gay rights movement. Republicans have also strongly opposed same-sex marriage. We already knew that. I think that's the big ones. And then it just goes into like establishing blah 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 blah. All right. So that's so what do we learn? What do you have questions about? So Republican Party in a nutshell. What did we learn?
That they're almost the exact opposite of the Democratic Party, honestly.
Which is probably why those are the big two. Because we're going to talk about four, and there's a lot of other ones, but I mean, why you have the hero and the anti-hero. You have everybody who believes this, and then everybody who believes that. So, go. What did you learn?
That Republicans are against affirmative action. That was a big one that kind of...
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
But there's the other school of thought is with affirmative action, you are no longer just looking at the quality of the person. You are making sure that your numbers make sense. That is the opposing thought to affirmative action. Don't just hire somebody because they're whatever. Yeah. Hire them because they're good and qualified.
But if you're in the management position of something like that, I feel like you should already understand that you're hiring the person based on their skill. I don't know. That's just weird stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This whole racism thing is just mind-boggling to me.
It is 2016, and very surprising that racism is still a thing.
It's like, yeah, you look at a person, and you can judge the person by the way they hold themselves, not by the way they look.
Correct.
Like, if they shoulders back, they're a proud person. You know that they're confident in what they do, not by the color of their skin or if they have a lazy eye. I don't know. It's like, come on, guys.
Okay, cool. All right, what else did you learn? So, the Republican Party, we've said it a couple times now, but we're trying to make sure that we hammer down like their main fundamental things, because what we were saying in the Democratic video was you have to figure out your stance on these different issues, and then that'll kind of tell you where you need to vote. So, the Republican Party tends to be they're against abortion. They're against same-sex marriage. They are pro-military.
I'm trying to think of a positive way to put that stuff in the light. They are pro-old values. So. Yeah,
traditional values. That's the thing. They are very traditionally oriented. A lot of their code and their credo is from teachings of the Bible and all of that. Just making sure that a man and a woman are a family. Anything outside of that doesn't make any sense to them.
Yep.
So they are traditionally about that. And then every life matters. So life begins the second of conception. Yep. That is when life ends, or life starts, rather. Yeah. Sorry. So, it's when life ends at conception. But yeah, those are the things that you need to figure out. So what is your stance on same-sex marriage? What is your stance on abortion? What is your stance on legalization of drugs? What is your stance on affirmative action? What are your stances on those things? Those are the things that you need to figure out first. Once you make that decision on whatever side of the fence you land on, then you work backwards and figure out what values other people are presenting that you identify with.
And we also have two more to cover. So if you feel like you're still kind of in between on these, we've got more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of these other two that are going to make more sense for you.
And the biggest reason that these are the biggest two, because they are the ones that have the biggest,
Coverage
of like congressional seating and people in the Senate, and they've done a lot more as far as like the Congress is concerned, which is why they get more playtime. They are the biggest one. They have the biggest audience. They
have the biggest money.
Yeah, they have the most money. They're the most backers, which is crazy to me, because if I'm gonna vote for president, I want everybody who's on that ballot on that platform arguing. I don't care who you are, where you come from.
Yeah.
I want to hear everybody. And then if it's, if these two people are great and these three people are trash, that's fine. I need to know that, though.
Yes. They got to hold their own.
The coverage against, the two Democrats and Republicans versus everybody else, it's embarrassing. I don't know why there isn't like an equal footing.
It all comes back to money.
Yes.
It really does. If the media won't cover you if you don't give them money.
Which is really unfortunate, because I feel like you should take absolutely $0 to run for president.
I mean, that's.
I think
how
you
it
should.
Work,
I think you should have qualifications, but I think it should cost you no money. I think that if you've done this, you've worked at this, you're a certain age, whatever, you've done, all this other stuff, then bam,
well, maybe one of mine will catch your attention. Then.
Maybe. All right, so we're gonna call it. Like we said before, if we happen to be wrong on any one issue, that is fine. I'm okay with being wrong based on what we found. Please correct us in the comment section or on Facebook, or if you disagree, or if you agree, or if whatever. This is important for everybody. I cannot stress how important it is for you to get out and vote intelligently. Mm-hmm. Do not vote because of something that you read on Facebook. Do not vote because of one video that you watched. Do your own research. Figure out what you stand for, and then act on it. Mm-hmm. I cannot stress that enough.
And don't fall for the pandering.
Don't fall for the pandering. Don't fall for getting people riled up and getting them engaged. Like, you need be smart. You are smart. You're allowed to be smart. So friggin' be smart. So again, if you have any issues or questions or comments or corrections, hit us up on Facebook.
Yep.
You can at Watch Chat Play on Twitter, on Instagram, Watch Chat Play.
Yep.
In the YouTube comment section, please blow that up as well.
Yeah, blow it up.
This isn't about views or likes. I mean, we want people to watch this, but we want you to be informed, and we want you to engage more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. We have fun talking to you guys.
It is a real good time.
And the only way we learn is if people call us out on the things that we don't know.
Yeah, we are okay being wrong, so long as you tell us what we did wrong, and then we fix it.
You don't know what you don't know.
And then you will know what you're taught, what you teached.
You teach them out of that.
I learn real good.
I don't get it now.
All right, so that's it for the Republican section. We got two more left for Libertarian and Green Party.
Exactly.
And then we'll wind this down. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.